Friendship, for example, is a real gift.
It's an insane world. In it there is one sanity, the loyalty of old friends.
You're the best friends anybody ever had.
Alone, bad, friend, good.
Bubba was my best good friend. I had to make sure that he was okay.
Friendship and family, these are the things that matter.
Can we just become best friends?
Yep.
Touch my friends again and I'll blind you. Thanks, Mike. You're my best friend here.
Lose one friend, lose all friends, lose yourself.
We ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life.
That's what friends are for, right?
Friends? Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
If you're not over here in 15 minutes, you can find a new best friend. You've been saying that since the 5th grade.
Welcome to the I Am Your Friend podcast. I am your host, Aiden Licker. Thank you so much for tuning in every week. Things have been great, man. Thank you guys so much for following the podcast along and supporting, liking and following and retweeting on all the social medias. It really helps me out, really helps get my name out there, and lets me know that this is not all just for nothing, you know? But even if it was, that'd be okay, because I really do just enjoy doing it. No guest this week because my life has just been absolutely insane lately. So much going on. If you listen to last week's episode with my friend Abby, we talked about how one of our best friends just got married. And so that was like a whole thing, you know, a whole thing. It was a beautiful event and a beautiful weekend that we had together for the wedding. And then I've had a bunch of work shit. I'm literally dressed. If you're watching the video podcast, I'm dressed in like my work attire right now because I just like haven't stopped. Work stuff is crazy. Comedy stuff is crazy. Just a lot going on. So I just wasn't able, there was just logistically no way I was going to be able to get a guest on this week just because I was just so crunched for time. So I figured I'd check in with you guys as myself here. I know that sometimes I feel weird about doing these episodes because I'm literally just talking to myself in a room. But I have had several people tell me that these are their favorite episodes. So this one's for you guys. Thank you for letting me know that, or else I probably wouldn't do them. I wanted to try to stay away from and keep the guests going to have more of an interesting conversation, but I guess people like hearing what I have to say on my own for some reason. So thanks for that. But here we are, and it helps to do this every once in a while. So because there's a lot of things that I think about that I like to talk about that, you know, I'm like, oh, that would be a good topic for the podcast, but you know, it depends on who the guest is, and I want things to happen organically in those conversations. You know, we don't do like I don't do like pre-interviews with anybody or like have anything set, you know. It's like, let's just sit down in a room, whatever happens, which is what I like, which is like my favorite part of this podcast is like, you know, let's not overplan it and make it feel forced. Let's just let it happen organically. I'm going to be starting a new podcast, a second podcast. What? That doesn't make any sense. No, yeah, I'm doing it with another person, which I will announce at a later point because I'll have them on the podcast for us to talk more about it. But it's going to be a comedy podcast where this is, you know, the I Am Your Friend podcast. While there are funny moments that happen on here, I try to, you know, have conversations that dig a little bit beneath the surface about a little bit, you know, more serious things and try to be a bit more, you know, deeper on the conversation and a bit more serious on the topics. But I'm going to be starting a comedy podcast with a fellow comedian, and we're, you know, that one's just going to be for laughs, and that one's going to be a bit more structured. There's going to be like topics we hit on. We're going to do more like audience interaction with like, you know, people on social media, and then have other comedians on, and that'll be super great. And I'm super excited about it. Where this podcast is going, I Am Your Friend. Dude, I'm so happy with how things have been going in the second season here. I still, you know, face technical difficulties every once in a while. Didn't have a video last week, literally hit record on the software, and then when we finished the podcast, I hit stop and it just, an error showed up and was like, can't do it, and then the software crashed. So I think I figured that out. Things seem to be going all right now, but I guess we'll see. New equipment, you know, again, I'm one guy here. Anytime you know, you're watching a video podcast that's like well done, it's usually a team of people and they got super nice equipment. And I try to get as nice as equipment as I can within the budget that I have. But, you know, I'm still one guy here and still have, you know, I'm limited in my bandwidth of what I'm able to do. So, yeah, But for the most part, things have been going good. The guests have been great. I've been having a lot of people reach out that want to come on, which is awesome. And I plan to do all that. It's just, sometimes my life is just insane because, I had 2 comedy shows in the past 5 days, which is great. I'm so stoked to be getting on shows and stuff. And those have been going really well. Again, work's been crazy. Music stuff's been nuts. I'm playing a couple shows with Super American. Coming up, we're playing I Matter Festival in Elmira, New York. On the 29th. Let me check my calendar real quick. No, the 30th. My bad. Saturday the 30th, I Matter Fest. I'll be filling in on guitar with Super American and working the merch table. So if anybody's going to that, or you know anybody going to that, tell them to check out Super American. Saturday, that next day, is there a 31st in July? Hold on, checking the calendar again. There is a 31st in July. Who knew? Playing with Neck Deep, which is going to be fucking crazy because I've been a big fan of Neck Deep for, since I was in high school. So going to be pretty cool. Super American, I believe, is direct support on that, which means they'll be playing right before Neck Deep, which that'll be an experience. And that one is in Syracuse at, I believe it's Lost Horizons. I've never been to the venue, but I hear really good things. So I'm super excited to play that show, filling on guitar again for that and doing merch. So that'll be super fun. Very excited for that. And then, this week I'm going to New Orleans again. If you've been listening to the pod, I was in New Orleans already. They're like, this guy's going back to New Orleans. He can't get enough of the Cajun food, which is a little true. But one was for my friend Rory's bachelor party, who just got married. This one's for my cousin's bachelor party. Everybody wants to bring your boy to the bachelor party because it turns out I'm a bit of a good time. No, I don't know if that's true. I feel like people just felt obligated and didn't want me to be left out. But yeah, going to New Orleans again for my cousin's bachelor party, and then his wedding is coming up in a few weeks. And then I got another cousin's wedding in Asheville, North Carolina. And then I'm on vacation, which I am so stoked for. My first vacation since before the pandemic, going down to Hilton Head, South Carolina with my fam. And what's sick about that is anytime there's a family vacation, which we try to do one a year, usually it's every other year. Pandemic obviously threw a wrench into that. But I love going on vacation with my fam because we all get along really well. We're all very close. And what I love is my parents never have an itinerary. They're just like, listen, we're going to hang out on the fucking beach and you guys can do whatever you want. And that's my favorite type of vacation, is like, we're just here to fucking chill out, dude. So yeah, I'm not a guy who's like, if I'm traveling somewhere for vacation and someone's there with like, okay, on this day we're doing this, and on this day we're going to go here and we're going to check out this spot. I'm like, I don't want it. I like spontaneity. I like, let's get an idea of some places we want to check out and we'll go with the flow. That's my ideal vacation. So super excited, taking off of work for a full week. I was going to bring my work laptop with me and work while I was down there. And I'm like, nope, fuck it. I earned this. I've been working really hard. So I'm super excited for that. So I'm going to have to bank an episode or two so that we can keep the podcast rolling. I'm going to try. And then at the end of August, heading out on the road again with Super American, just doing the tour managing, merch guy stuff with Mom Jeans and Just Friends. And Free Throw and Super American. So that'll be a super fun tour. I'm super excited about it. 3 weeks, which is nice. The last one we went on was 5 with Hot Mulligan, which was a super fun time of 5 weeks. Whew, that was a long one. So 3 weeks, mostly East Coast, which is going to be cool. So I'm super stoked for that. But again, same thing. I got to bank some episodes. So I'm going to be doing multiple times a week, getting on the pod, getting guests on. I guess they're getting people scheduled. I have a few in mind, a few that I've talked to already. If you know anybody, if you want to come on, I'm not, there's nobody that I don't want to have on, so hit me up. If you're interested or know somebody who might be, would love to have you on and discuss some things about our lives. So that's where I'm at, man. Just burning the candle at both ends, barely getting any sleep, but who cares? I'll sleep when I'm dead. Hey, no, I'm having a good time. Life is good. I love when I'm busy, honestly. Just keeps me going. It's crazy how, like in the winter months, it's like, Like, I love the fall. The fall is like my favorite fucking season ever. It's, you know, the weather is great. I love those, like, even the stormy days in the fall are fucking awesome. I love Halloween. I mean, everything about the fall is just like beautiful and romantic, and like that's my shit. You know what I mean? I'm a Pisces, baby. You know how we roll out here. You know, we're these emotional, dramatic, romantic guys. And the fall, especially in Western New York, whew. Don't even get me started. I love the fall. So I have a good time in the fall. And then, you know, the holidays, I enjoy the holidays. I didn't used to hate the holidays. Love them now. Thank you, therapy. Thanksgiving is great. You know, Christmas is awesome. New Year's is great. And then after New Year's, usually the seasonal depression hits right there, almost immediately. And it's like, that's when, like, I just don't leave my house. I don't feel very creative. I don't get a lot of sunlight, and things are just tough for me. And it's like, why would I go outside? It's freezing and it sucks out. So it's nuts that like January to, I'll say, end of March is like the worst, and I'm in the worst mood. And I hate myself, and I never want to do anything. And then the weather gets nice. I get a little dopamine to the brain by just going out and saying hello to the sun every once in a while. And then I feel, and I'm like, oh, it's on, baby. You know, I'm creative. I'm like, let's write 1,000 songs. Let's write some jokes. Let's go to some open mics. Let's do a podcast, you know? Any of that shit is the best. And then it's like, all right, yeah. And then I say yes to everything, right? Because everybody's feeling good when the summer starts, you know? It's like, hey, we should plan a trip in a couple months, or, you know, we should do this. Hey, we're getting married. We're going on into a bachelor party. We're having a destination wedding. All these things start to pop up around the springtime because everybody's excited because the weather's getting warmer. And I'm like, you know, at that point, I'm so depressed that I'm like, oh, please just give me anything to do. So I'm just like, yes, 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 yes. Just rifling off yes to every plan that I possibly can. And then the summer hits and I'm like, fuck, I have something going on every single weekend until I get depressed again. So, but you know what? I fucking love it. I love doing this. I haven't had time to like watch anything, dude. Which I love watching shit. That's like all I do in the winter. I love watching shows and stuff. But I haven't watched anything since Stranger Things ended, which goddamn Stranger Things. Dude, that show is fucking amazing. I won't spoil anything, but I guess here's a season 3 spoiler, which if you haven't watched season 3 yet, the fuck you doing, you know? When season 3 ended, and it was like, there was like the ambiguous, like, is Hopper dead? Is he not? You know, the kids are all separated, whatever. To me, that was like that. The show should have ended there. This is what I said when I finished season 3. I was like, that should be the end of it. Like, I like the little ambiguity. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of The Sopranos, which if you don't know how The Sopranos ends, it's a bit ambiguous, which I like. I like leaving. I like when directors or writers do that, when they leave it up to the audience's interpretation. So that's what I love about The Sopranos. And so, like, you know, that whole thing was like, well, we didn't see Hopper die, but it seems like he's dead, you know? So leave that, and then like the kids are all separated and they're getting older, and this is what we loved about this show is that they were like kids, you know. It felt like the Goonies kind of, or Stand By Me, like that kind of, like the 80s. They really like hit those 80s tropes with like the kids adventure movies. So I was like, that is a perfect ending of the show, because what I didn't want to see is, you know, Stranger Things was like Netflix's first like big pop of a show, right? And what I didn't want to see happen is what happens to every show like that, is where they just keep it going forever and then it becomes terrible. So I was like, just end it there. You had 3 good seasons, quit while you're ahead, and people will just talk about forever how great that show was, and let it be that. You know, I think that's the best thing to do. And then they announced season 4, and I'm like, oh geez, you know, I really wish it would have just ended. And then I went and watched season 4, and I was like, holy shit, Stranger Things, this is the best season of any show I've ever seen. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's the best season of Stranger Things, hands down. And it has moved Stranger Things, because like, after season 1 through 3, I was like, what a fun show. It was a great show, great watch. I'd recommend it to anybody, you know? After season 4, I'm like, this show has made its way into like my top 10 of all time. So good, dude. The writing this season was just phenomenal. And their budget, it was insane. So all the special effects and everything were awesome. The story was great. How they tied everything back to all the other seasons, just really, really nice. I see now. Here's my thing again. I'm not gonna doubt them again. The who is the Duffer Brothers or something like that. I'm not gonna doubt them again. They have my faith for now. But when season 4 ended the way it did, again, it left on a bit of a continued, there's gonna be a more story here, right? Which I guess next season is the final season. Which 5 seasons, chef's kiss. Perfect amount of seasons for a show. 5 seasons. You don't need more than that. Shout out Breaking Bad. And yeah, so after the season 4 part 2 came out, which is like those 2 episodes it was an hour and a half and then 2.5 hours, which holy fuck. The final episode of the season was literally a feature length, like a long movie, not even just like a regular ass movie. But it was awesome. I loved every second of it. And then when, it ends on a little bit of hey, here's where this story's going to leave off. This is not a conclusion, obviously. We're going to wrap this up next season. It's going to be the whole end of the show. Cool. I would have preferred a movie, if I'm being honest. But people like the shows, man. People like the series. People like to binge that shit. And I go, listen, binging is fun and everything. I had my time with it. But I'm over it. I like the weekly shows, which I think Apple TV is absolutely crushing right now. HBO still got it, but HBO has also had some misses. I feel like HBO used to be this top tier, creme de la creme, best of the best. I think that's what I mean. I don't know if that's an exact translation. No, just they were like the top tier television, right? Home box office. It was premier television. And every show they did they were crushing it for fucking 20 years. And then when they rebranded and became HBO Max, I feel like they just dropped a little bit the quality of some of the shows. The shows that continued from HBO were still good, but some of the new shows they putting out, it's what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? And the app was terrible for a long time. It's getting a little better, I will admit. But when the HBO Max app first dropped, I was like, this is the worst fucking user interface I've ever experienced. Also, what's insane? Maybe a user interface experience doesn't really matter because Amazon is the biggest company in the world, and their website, their app, the Prime Video app are all fucking terrible. They are an awful user experience. There's way too much going on. It's way too complicated. Get rid of it, simplify it down, make it better. But of course, if we're talking about best user interface, we got to go Apple TV Plus. It's insane, dude. It's such a good app. I do notice there's only one thing I noticed and maybe it's just because I use the Apple TV app on my TV in my living room, which is a smart TV, and I use the Apple TV Plus app on there. And sometimes when you start a show, the audio is out of sync, and you got to go back and restart it, and then it's fixed. But that's the only thing I've noticed. Besides that, it's Apple. They crush what they make. So the Apple TV Plus. Also, again, the content of Apple TV Plus, I think, in my opinion, right now, they're putting out the best shit. Ted Lasso, Severance. I haven't watched the morning show, but I hear it's really good. The After Party was really good. Everything I've watched in there, I haven't seen anything I didn't like. That they did a Planet Earth CGI dinosaur thing that was fucking awesome with the same narrator from Planet Earth. They're just crushing it. And I like the weekly episodes, I gotta say. And Disney Plus is doing that too. But listen, I gotta put it out there. This is my hot take on the Disney. Listen, we gotta talk about it. Obi-Wan Kenobi was mid. I said it, all right? It was fine. It should have been a movie. It was supposed to be a movie. This is what I found out. I don't know how true this is, but this is what I heard, is that Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to be a movie. And if it was, it would have been probably way fucking better. Because the series, they I think it was I don't know. I'm sure it was the people at Disney that's we can get more money out of this if we turn it into a series. And so they turned it into a series, and then, they probably already had a story written, and which then they had to embellish, and, stretch it out and everything. But it reflects on the show, I think. I think it was super drawn out. A lot of the Leia story was I loved little Leia, okay? Little Princess Leia, are you kidding me? She was adorable. She was that little girl who played her was phenomenal. Like an amazing performance. Literally reminded me, I think was the best possible like young Leia, like as like a young Carrie Fisher type of thing like we could get. It was amazing. The story of her and like the way they did a lot of it, I thought was just kind of like lame and unnecessary. Not her fault. She is truly Princess Leia. I bought it. I was in it. Obi-Wan, I mean, obviously, Ewan, is that how we say his name? Ewan McGregor? Ewan? Is it Ewan? Who fucking knows, man? But that guy rules. The Darth Vader story was amazing, which I feel like that was going to be the movie, right? It was just going to be Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. It was going to be just like the story of them. And like all of those scenes were the best parts of the show. When we get like those last few episodes with them were amazing. Everything else I could have done without. And it was mid. And that's all I got to say about that. I feel like I've fallen off the Marvel train as well. Endgame, like, and it's hard to continue after you just had like an absolute juggernaut of super good movies. Like Infinity War is the best Marvel movie, hands down. And then Endgame. I mean, Infinity War and Endgame are just part 1 and part 2 of each other, and they're both amazing. But I like Infinity War just a little bit more. The setup is just amazing. The scene at the end where like everybody comes out of the portals and shit, and you just have all these crazy fucking superheroes and shit. So rad. Everything after that, I don't know. Listen, man, the Spider-Man No Way Home, which everybody was like, this is the best superhero movie of all time. It was fine. It was. I enjoyed it. For the nostalgia aspect, but that's the whole thing. Is like they just played into that. You know, the end, like the final fight scene and everything was super cool. Willem Dafoe coming back was amazing. Like all that shit was super cool, but I don't know. I just felt like it got hyped. If I didn't hear anything about it, if nobody was going nuts about it on the internet and I went and saw it, I probably would have really liked it more, but I think it just got overhyped for me. I also saw it, so I didn't see it in the theaters, which also maybe would have changed things. But the Batman had come out like shortly after, the Robert Pattinson one, and I loved that movie. I went and saw it in theaters and I was like blown away. It was amazing. I agree with the sentiment that it probably shouldn't have been 3 hours long. Could have been 2.5. Maybe you could have cut some stuff, but still super good. I loved it. I can't wait to see where they go with that series. Big fan. I mean, dude, I'm a big Robert Pattinson guy. All right. I feel like a lot of people doubted him because, and he gets such a bad rep for being the Twilight guy, dude. That was like his first movie. He was super young and and then he grew after, like every movie he did after the Twilight movies were awesome, dude. Remember Me? Fire movie. Okay. Even, what was that one? Water for Elephants, which is like the most like sappy, like lame romance movie about the circus. That he was awesome in that movie. And then all the A24 movies he's in are nuts. Like, dude, Good Time is one of my favorite. Good Time might be my number one A24 movie, and Robert Pattinson's phenomenal in that movie. That other movie that he's in with Tom Holland is really good too. Ironically, comparing those two movies, but I don't remember the Deliver Us from Evil. Maybe it was something like that. Something with like the devil or evil or some sort of like prayer thing, because it was about like an old timey church. But Robert Pattinson's really good in that movie. Big fan of Robert Pattinson, man. And so like and I love the Batman story. Big fan of the Dark Knight series. I mean all the Batman stuff. So I was super excited about it, and I think it totally holds up to the Dark Knight series. Like I think it's like just as good as like the Nolan movies. And then so like I was so hyped on that, and then you know, No Way Home like came out on demand or whatever like shortly after that, and I was like, all right, like I'll finally get around to checking this movie out. But I was like so hyped on Batman at the time that I was like, Marvel is like just like so over the top sometimes that it just kind of like it loses me a little bit. I'm sure if there's any like super Marvel fans listening, they're probably fucking losing their minds. Because I know everybody went nuts for that. And then I heard Doctor Strange was mid. I didn't watch it. I hear the new Thor movie is not great. Which is a bummer because I love Taika Waititi. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm falling off the superhero thing, I think. I might be. Even though they are fun. I don't know why I just went on this crazy rant about movies and content and streaming, but like, I do love that shit, and I'm mad that or not mad, but just like upset that I haven't been able to get to watch it. I gotta still watch the new season of The Boys on Prime. I hear that's good. I hear the new season's good. The new season of Barry was nuts. If you're not watching Barry, watch it. It's so good. I gotta watch The Bear. Everybody's been tweeting about that. Love Jeremy Allen White, known for playing Lip on Shameless. So super excited for that. And then what was Hacks on HBO, a comedy-esque show, which I got to check out. So it's all on my list, man. Yo, I've been using this app called, I believe it's called Sofa. You guys got to check this out. If you're like me, if you're a super busy person, this is not an ad. If you're a super busy person who, like, when you have downtime, you need like a planner for your downtime, Sofa is a downtime organizer, as it calls itself, as the app. And you can just, anytime someone tells me about a movie, a podcast, a TV show, an album, a band, anything like that, any sort of like digital content to check out, you go on the Sofa app, you look it up, you add it to one of your lists. So I just have like podcasts, TV shows, whatever that people tell me to check out. And then when I have like a free second, you know, I can just hop on there. If I'm like, you know what, I'm going to watch a movie tonight or watch a TV show tonight. Start a new show. I got some free time coming up. Go to the Sofa app and be like, oh yeah, this person told me about this show. Now I'm going to watch it. Now me and that person have something to talk about next time. So super cool app that I just found beneficial. Giving you guys all the recs today. If you still haven't watched Severance, what the fuck are you doing? That show is awesome. That might be like one of the best shows. That I'm super excited for that show to continue, but I have a feeling that show's going to end up in my top 5 for sure. So, you know what's crazy, dude? I've been so busy on the, comedy podcasts type stuff that like I haven't been doing music stuff a lot, which is weird, but like I'm fine with it. I kind of like taking a break from it because it's like I was nonstop focused on being like a songwriter forever. That like to find a new passion in like comedy and podcasting, it's been nice to kind of take a break from it, and I know I'm going to revisit it at some point. And I think that I just have a feeling that it's just going to be good, that I'm going to come back and be like, kind of have just like a newfound perspective. So I'm super excited to start, to get back to that. But I've just been, I was filling in for Spaced for a little bit on guitar, filling in with Super American. So like the only time I've even been picking up guitars is to like practice those songs. And it's been interesting. I haven't really even been listening to music all that much. Going to a lot of concerts though, which is fun. I guess is the best way to experience music. Just went and saw Death Cab, which was sick. Front row at the Art Park main stage, which is different from the outdoor concert. It's an indoor thing. Front row at a concert, overrated. I gotta tell you, it's weird. It's so personal. I almost feel like I'm bothering the artist. It's like, you can look right at me, you can see me. Which is weird. It wasn't so. The only other time I've been that close for a band was when I saw Blink-182 a few years ago at Darien Lake, and we were just like, it was just like the pit, so it's just, but that felt more normal, because like this was like a seated concert, front row, very strange experience, because you're just like in one spot, and you're so close, and yeah, I mean it was a great show, had a great time, but I don't know if I'd ever like spend the money on front row, a seated front row again. Just not my vibe. But yeah, I haven't really been listening to a lot. Like usually I just have been listening to podcasts or listening to nothing, I guess. But dude, Rage Against the Machine is coming up. But this podcast will be out on Monday, which is the day of the Rage Against the Machine show. So most likely next time you talk to me, it'll be after that show, and I feel like I'm going to be a changed person. I've been seeing a lot of the videos from their tour that they just started, and it looks fucking awesome. So I'm very excited for that. Rage Against the Machine has been one of my favorite bands for a super long time. I think I don't remember when I got into them. It might have been Killing in the Name was in, I think, Guitar Hero 2. When I was in like 6th or 7th grade, and that was the first time I heard Rage Against the Machine, which I know is kind of embarrassing, but like who cares? That's how I mean Guitar Hero was how I just the same way that Tony Hawk was like a way I discovered a lot of music when I was really little. Guitar Hero was the same thing. That's how I discovered a lot of especially like older bands. especially when I grew up in a time when, like, I don't know how many people know this, but like after 9/11 happened, a bunch of music was banned from the radio, certain songs and things. Like I know that, Jimmy Eat World was about to put out the album Bleed American right after 9/11, and they had to change the name of the album. They made it a self-titled and then like re-released it as Bleed American later. Third Eye Blind had the song Slow Motion, which is like how like the media glorifies like mass shootings and like and just like murder and like violence and that kind of shit. So Third Eye Blind has that song Slow Motion, which on the album Blue, I think it was Blue, which is their second album, the label made them release it as an instrumental song, and then it came out later on a Greatest Hits, I think. So like it's just a weird time after 9/11 where like censorship was like huge, and like you weren't allowed to like put shit like that out on a major label. And Rage Against the Machine, like they were like completely like shadow banned from like the all media, and so like I had no way of knowing who they were for that reason. And so Guitar Hero, then comes out and I hear Killing in the Name and I was like, oh, this song fucking goes hard, and then especially once I hit middle school, when you start getting a little bit more into US history into a way that's like it's kind of like the first step into exposing some of the faults of the United States. At least that's how it was for me. I had a really kick-ass history teacher in middle school who was like, talked about the Vietnam War protests and like, that kind of shit, like the civil rights era, like all that kind of shit in like a really cool way. And so like for me to discover Rage Against the Machine around that time, it was like, it explains a lot for how I became the way that I am, and then so I just became big on Rage Against the Machine in middle school and high school, and I've just been a huge fan ever since, and I just never thought I would get a chance to see them. Like to me, Rage Against the Machine was always this band that just kind of like existed in a past world that I wasn't a part of, and I just kind of like, similarly to like the Beatles or Led Zeppelin, where it was like, oh, I'm never going to get to see this band, but this was like a time, this is a reflection of that time, and there's a lot to learn from this music, and I just loved listening to it. So the fact that they announced a tour, which, this was in 2020, I was like, over the moon about it. And I remember, me and my coworkers at the time, had all gotten on to get tickets. We all got floor seats. And then, the show got delayed for literally 2 years. And now it's finally happening this Monday. I got floor seats. I am so goddamn excited. And Run the Jewels, dude. I'm a big Killer Mike guy and Run the Jewels fan in general. So, just going to be such a good time. I'm so stoked. I really think it's going to be like a life-changing experience. Just from the videos I've been seeing, the rants that Zach De La Roca is going on, and, they've been putting like these quotes on the screen, especially with things going on in the world today, and those guys just crush it, man. I also love the discourse going on online of like people on the right learning that Rage Against the Machine is like not right-winged. It's crazy how that shift in the political spectrum has happened, where like the right really does see themselves as like these freedom fighters. Like they really think they're like this revolutionary, like founding fathers, like, we're going to overthrow the government kind of people. But like, there's so much irony in that because like Republicans in power are not like that, and I just find it really interesting because now, Rage Against the Machine posts their leftist takes, which they've always been, about like being pro-choice and all these, all these things like that. And now all these, Republicans or conservatives, right-leaning people are super pissed off at Rage Against the Machine for being who they've always been. Just hilarious. And then also, there's a vaccine requirement for the concert, which is, I think, this was when this show was supposed to be happening last year, was like a big thing. I don't even know if they're still doing that, but like at the time, when you bought the ticket, it was like vaccine required, and it's an arena tour. And the fact that, they are self-proclaimed like communist, socialist, whatever, and are charging money for the tickets because like they have a staff to pay and they have an arena, and then they donate a bunch of money to like leftist organizations, which I don't think a lot of them realize. And they're like, oh, you guys are Rage Against the Machine and claim to be communists, but are charging people for $200 for tickets. And it's like, nah, yeah, I'm saying all the same things that it's just like people who have no idea what the fuck communism even is. And it's just like, and you just see that are like, oh, communism is when free concert. You know what I mean? I love those types of memes. But yeah, and they came out as, there was vaccine required because it was an arena tour, and I think that's like was part of the deal with like playing arenas is because you're going to have that many people packed into a room. And people are like now saying, I've been seeing just on like TikTok comments and Twitter and stuff, they're like, oh, now they rage with the machine because like getting vaccinated is supposedly the machine. That's one thing, dude. I feel like I've grown a lot in the conversations that I am having with people and in just like accepting people for differing opinions and stuff. But the vaccine is one I just can't let go of, dude, because it's like, I also like, the thing is like, I do understand the take because big pharma is such a issue. You know what I mean? But like the idea of critical thinking is understanding, like if you have good critical thinking skills, you should understand that big pharma is an issue, understand that these companies like Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca, whatever, do have too much power. And like, yes, their CEOs are getting paid way too much money. And that's all more of a reason to move towards universal healthcare, so that we can regulate and control things like this from happening, because my point, sorry, I lost I lost track there, but the point being that you should be able to understand and criticize the things about big pharma, but still understand that there's a public health crisis happening, and this vaccine is safe and free and effective, and you understanding those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can have a big pharma problem but still understand, okay, but this product that they make is still, you know what I mean? It's the same thing with like Amazon. Like Amazon is a terrible company, right? They treat their employees poorly. Like this is all very known. They're very like, monopolistic, whatever, but they provide a good service, right? 2-day shipping. You can't deny that it is a great service for like, whatever it is, $130 a year for Prime. Like that is a great service. You can recognize that this company's fucked up and they probably shouldn't be as big as they are. However, because they are as big as they are, they're able to make this amazing service. It's the same thing with Apple, right? Apple's way too big of a company that has way too much fucking control of the market, but they make really good products that work really well, like, and are desirable, and I love, so it's like the same thing. Like, again, going back to the idea of like communist, the original meme is communist is when no iPhone, because people are like, well, capitalism is how you got an iPhone. And it's like, well, we're not, like you can still, like I still have an iPhone and I can still criticize Apple and Tim Cook and CEOs and billionaires, like that's what good critical thinking is, just so you know. It doesn't make you a hypocrite to say, yeah, fuck Pfizer, fuck Moderna, fuck these big fucking pharmaceutical companies. However, we are in a public health crisis, and they did make a good, safe product that can get us the step to get out of this. Like, that is what people have to understand. So, like, that's the thing is, like, I hear you, I feel you on the idea of, yeah, big pharma is an issue, and maybe that is the biggest thing that has led to vaccine hesitancy. But there's this idea with, like, I saw Robert Reich is an economist, a U.S. economist. He's like left-leaning socialist guy that I follow on Twitter. And he posted a thing about the CEO, I think it was the CEO of Pfizer, maybe Moderna, like got paid, like got some huge like buyout or whatever, like got paid an insane amount for, just being a CEO. And it was just like an absurd amount of money. And so like he was tweeting, criticizing that. And people were on the right were calling him a hypocrite because he said that the vaccine, an earlier tweet earlier this year was like, see, you notice how the vaccine was free for everybody and available for everybody? That's how access to healthcare should be. And people were like, oh, these are two conflicting ideas. And it's like, no, it's not. And the problem is people like equate universal healthcare to big government, right? And they're like, big government, big pharma, they both got the word big, so that means they're the same. Universal healthcare gives more power to big pharma. And it's like, actually it doesn't. It does the opposite of that. Universal healthcare is big people. Like, it's more for people. Like, it helps people, and it helps regulate these companies so that we don't have 3 companies that are controlling all of this and making all of the profits for it, and we can control the healthcare prices. You know what I mean? And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know you, like, all my listeners, for the most part, probably are just agree with everything that I'm saying. But I just think it's so crazy how people are so like, I use the word indoctrinated a lot, but that's really what it is. Indoctrinated, brainwashed, whatever, just into like being just like, I guess the best word is just bootlickers for like the system. They just love the system. Another thing I see all the time is like when we're talking about just like human decency, people always like bring up the law. You know, they're like, well, that's, you know, if he wasn't resisting arrest, he probably wouldn't have got shot, kind of thing. And it's like, why are you, you know, like, everybody's so focused on like the law. Like, you love the fucking law so much. Like, it's like, dude, let's zoom out here and just look at being a person and just being human to human. Like, why are we so focused on like what's written in paper and what someone else decided we're supposed to do? You know what I mean? I don't know. I digress, man. These are just the things that I think about all the time. Same thing. I mean, I talked about it with Abby last week of like the idea of like people who are like, oh, there's crazies on both sides. And like, you got the far left and the far right, and Antifa and the Proud Boys are, you know, might as well be the same. And it's like, well, Antifa isn't a real group of people. It's just an idea that just goes against fascism, which again is something we should all get behind. Same thing with like the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, people think like, oh, well, yeah, you got BLM rioting and looting, and you got, you know, QAnon and the Proud Boys and whatever, storming the Capitol. It's the same thing. And it's like, well, no, let's look into that a little bit further, because those are two very different things. You just see flames and just like, well, flames are bad, so I'm not part of it, you know? But, you know, one is for progress and one is for, you know, fascism. And we should, and also the fascist side of things has people in power that are actually like changing things. And, you know, the people on the far left, the anti-fascists, if you will, don't have any power. You know, there's not any of those people. You know, we have Bernie Sanders is the farthest left person in Congress, and he's not even far left. So I just don't, you know, we can't keep having that conversation as if, because I think that's just the easy position. People who like aren't politically involved, who like don't know enough, that's just the easiest position for them to take, to this like holier than thou. Like, it's like, well, I don't go to either side. I'm a middle of the road guy, and that makes me the best, you know? And it's like, well, let's actually look at the issues that are going on, because I think that actually makes you the worst, because now you're Switzerland. Was it Switzerland is the neutral? I think it's Switzerland. Fucking here I am on my soapbox, and I don't even know. You know, you're the neutral team in the middle of a war, and one of the sides is Nazis, and the other sides are trying to fight the Nazis. So maybe fight the Nazis. You know? I'm on one today, guys. I'm feeling good. Things are good, despite everything that I'm talking about here. Hey, August 9th, I am competing in the second round, the semifinals of Helium's Buffalo's Funniest Contest. That's the last thing I have to promote here. August 9th at Helium Comedy Club. I'll be competing with everybody else who is, you know, won some of the preliminary rounds. I believe there's 3 shows in the semifinals of everybody who went through after the preliminary round. And then the finals will actually be while I'm in Hilton Head, but I don't expect to make it through the second round, just because this is where it starts to get really competitive. I didn't even expect to make it through the first round, but trust me when I say I'm not going to make it through the semifinals, and I'm not saying that to be like modest or anything. Like, I just like, there are so many good comics who have been doing this for years that are just so comfortable up there that can just give a really good set. And the first round was audience voting, which I was very lucky to have a bunch of friends and family come out and vote for me and get me through. I did have, I felt I did give a good set and everything, but semifinals, there's actual like judges who like understand like, what goes into a good set and everything. And I'm not even going to be here for the finals. So that's that. But it's still going to be a good show, and I want people to come out just to, watch the show, and, see all the comics that are in Buffalo. Yeah. And that's it, man. 45 minutes, I think I hit. That's cool. I said a lot there. I went on, but hopefully you stayed engaged. Listen, guys, I'm going to start doing a thing in the podcast. I want to know what your guys' thoughts on this, where I start. I think somehow I'm going to figure it out, like a link somewhere or something where you could kind of submit maybe like an anonymous question or something, or a story, or maybe a time you're going through or have gone through, that you think, you just want to get another person's perspective on. One thing, I think I give pretty decent advice, at least, to my friends and stuff. And I know it seems kind of lame and maybe like conceited to like offer some sort of like advice column. But I think it might be kind of cool and kind of fun. What do you guys think? I think it would be kind of fun to like, have people who maybe, maybe you're going through something. Maybe you feel you're like, is this crazy, kind of thing. And maybe it would be nice to just be validated anonymously by your buddy. Your friend Aiden here, I'm here for you guys. All right. That's the whole point of the show. We're lifting people up. We're feeling better about things. We're making progress, right? That's the point of all this, I think. And that's it, man. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week. After I've gone to New Orleans and Rage Against the Machine, we're going to have a really good time. I hope you guys are having a good time. Hope your summers are going well. And yeah, hit me up. Let's have a conversation. I'll talk to you guys soon. Later.